Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to all our viewers today. Thank you very much for spending your afternoon. Nak tahu yang kita ni dari ni. Are we back? Okay. Very sorry, my apologies for the technical glitches. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for part one, we have Cikgu Pushpa from Segamat, and also we have Cikgu Atiqa from, Cikgu Chung from Kulai, who have shared some of their tips and also the techniques that they have used in implementing their PBD. All right, today I would like to share with you regarding the PBD that can be tailored or can be planned through compacting, acceleration, and enrichment strategy, or otherwise known as the M2P strategy. Now, we are highlighting this to ensure that learning loss and learning gap is consciously addressed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you have given a lot of exercises and practices that you have done with your students in order to engage them in learning and also in ensuring that they have followed your lesson. Okay, through this, it is very important so that teachers can identify whether learning loss and learning gap takes place, and therefore intervention needs to be done. Now, M2P or Mampatan, Pecutan and Pengayaan involves a very structured planning in your teaching and learning, and also in implementing or in planning, inserting PBD in the lesson. Okay, as what you can see here, for the strategy Mampatan, Pecutan and Pengayaan, M2P, or compacting, acceleration and enrichment strategy, we are not saying that it is compulsory for teachers to implement this in the process of their lesson delivery. This is a suggestion as one of the strategy that can be implemented or can be included in order, as what I have said earlier, in order to address the learning loss and the learning gap. Next, please. All right, the M2P strategy consists of compacting, acceleration and enrichment. When we talk about compacting, it means selecting the curriculum content. So here, what it means is the learning standard within a unit. All right, so what we have to remember is the learning standard within the same unit. Now, compacting is implemented so that pupils' learning can be achieved in a shorter time. And when this happens, accelerating takes place. Okay, accelerating teaching and learning. Also, at the same time, the curriculum content can be presented earlier. Now, this will take place as what we know, in the third phase. The Form 5 pupils will be coming back to school, and they will be taking turns according to the group designated by the teachers. So, when taking turns in coming back to school, teachers can decide which part of the lesson unit, of the learning standard that can be taught earlier before the face-to-face lessons take place. So this in a way would accelerate the teaching and learning process. And of course, once you have your students in the class who have already mastered the skills earlier than the rest of their classmates, an enrichment can be given to them in terms of, it could be a project based, it could be learning of an in-depth quality that is enhancing the curriculum based on the pupils' strength and interests. So, of course, for all these to take place, differentiated pedagogy needs to be implemented. Next, please. All right. So to illustrate this clearer, as you can see here, what teachers can do, once you have decided to enter a certain unit, you can list out all the lesson, okay, all the lesson numbers, and also streamline for the learning standard that takes place. As you can see here, learning standard 2.1.4 is repeated 3 times. All right. Learning standard 4.2.2 is also repeated 3 times. And learning standard 4.1.5 is repeated twice. So this is where teachers can compact the curriculum by combining lesson 79 and lesson 80. Now, the rest of the lessons can be compacted providing your students have mastered the skills. Okay, now let's see, where do you go from here? All right, I would like to share with you this template in which you plan your lesson delivery. Okay, the template looks like this. All right, so in this template, you can see that all the lessons are listed, right? Are listed there. And from there, what followed after that are the learning standards. So here, you can list out your learning standard, and at the same time, you can insert the PBD. So for example, in this lesson unit, you can decide if you would like to conduct your PBD to test on speaking skills, or to test on writing skills, or both. All right. So this is where, when you streamline your delivery flow, okay, or your lesson delivery, this is where you can also plan how to structurally insert your PBD, where you would like to conduct your PBD. But the planning must be there. So as you can see, it involves a very, very structured planning. Now, from here, then you would transfer this into your daily lesson plan. Okay. Now, this is still not a daily lesson plan. This is still your full 1 unit plan delivery. All right. As you can see here, the lesson objectives are listed. So from the previous template that you have, you list out all your lesson objectives. And then from there, you decide which group that you're going to teach that particular lesson objectives. Okay. So for example, if you have a mixed ability class, then you might have 3 groups, right? You would have 3 groups: the core, the reinforcement, and the enrichment. But in your class, you might have only 2 groups, for example, the core and the reinforcement. So this will suit the classes that you have in your school. Now, so once you have completed this, you have tailor-made your lesson delivery for the whole unit as such, this is where you will take this and then transfer that into your daily lesson plan to suit your classes. Okay, and of course, when we talk about a lesson delivery to suit different abilities of the pupils, you are actually practicing differentiation strategy, which is the heart of M2P. Now, dear viewers, there is you don't have to worry about all these templates as if you go to KPM Google Drive from KPM Perkasaku, you would have access to all this. Okay, you would have access to the M2P strategy, and you would have access to the templates, the suggested templates, mind you. If you feel that you have your own templates that you would like to use and it suits your understanding, it suits your delivery system, then that's fine. All right. But for the time being, this will act as a guide for you to plan your lesson. Okay. So I hope I have shared basically a very structured planning for you to implement in compacting the unit, and also to accelerate learning, and also how you can plan to include your PBD in your lesson. Okay, so I wouldn't want to spend too much time on M2P. I would like to invite our panelists for today. We have two lovely ladies joining us today. We have Cikgu Emira from SMK Pasir Gudang. Hi Emira, how are you?
Hi, Puan Rokiah, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to see you again. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. And we also have Cikgu Nur Atiqa from Sekolah Sains Kota Tinggi, or better known as Sakti. Okay, hi Atiqa. Thank you
Hi,
very
madam.
much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, these two lovely ladies will be sharing with us today some techniques and also some approaches, and also sharing how professional judgment is done with the skills in the form. Some are going to share with you form 2, some form 3, and some form 5. All right. So I hope you will enjoy our webinar today and it will benefit you in many ways. All right. So without further delay, I would now hand over the stage to Cikgu Emira.
Okay. Hello and Assalamualaikum and a very good evening. I bid to our moderator for today, Puan Rokiah binti Ahmad, Ketua Penolong Pengarah Kanan Bahasa, Sektor Pembelajaran, JPN Johor. I also have with me today my co-panelist, Teacher Nur Atiqa from Sekolah Menengah Sains Kota Tinggi, as well as my beloved audience for today, who I hope have been anticipating this second series of our classroom-based assessment PBD Insights Unveiled Part 2 webinar. So I will be continuing from our previous speakers session last time, in which they have shared a few assessment types. For today, I will be focusing on assessment for learning, in which this will happen when teachers give constructive feedback to students based on the inferences that we make of students' progress. So we gauge students' performance levels by looking at these few progress that they have done through observation, through written assignments that they send to us, through the simple tests that we conduct, as well as the question and answer sessions that we engage our learners in. Okay, before I move into the activities that I have conducted with students, I would like to just go through this step-by-step procedure first for the implementation of classroom-based assessment in Malaysia. So the first step, it is imperative for us teachers to first decide on the content and learning standards that students need to master before we select the appropriate assessment method. Some teachers choose to build their own assessment tools because they find the pleasure in building assessment tools such as on platforms like Canva due to the visually appealing look, for example. But of course, there are resources available online, so teachers need to just select the ones that suit the content and learning standards that their students would like to master. And last but not least, of course, we have to design the lesson and incorporate the classroom-based assessment in our instructional activities in the classroom. So this would be an example of the written assessment that I have conducted with my Form 4 students. So looking at this particular scheme of work for Form 4, we can see that it is a textbook-based lesson. And the main skill that I would like students to display would be for them to communicate the appropriate language, form, as well as style when they produce a draft for a formal email. This would be an overview of the writing lesson in which it is an email for a job application. So among the tools that I have used would be Google Document for the students to write their email draft. I've also used Google Jamboard to elicit the difference between a formal and informal register. I've also used Google Meet recording. I uploaded that on YouTube for the purpose of me recording my teachers' timely feedback that I give to students for both synchronous and asynchronous mode of teaching and learning. I think that most teachers are quite familiar with the predicaments that our students and sometimes we teachers have the problems as well with regards to internet connection. So when students get to have the YouTube link, they can watch the YouTube at their own pace in their own time that they are comfortable watching it. Last but not least, I've also got Padlet to display the students' work. We can have virtual gallery walk done, and we can also insert marks. So I think I would like to demonstrate that right now on the actual Padlet itself. So this would be the Padlet that I use to display students' work. I start off by having an advertisement like this. So this advertisement was modified from the Form 4 Full Blast textbook. The underlined words and phrases are the words or phrases that students can actually change if they want to, according to their positions, the positions that they would like to apply for, rather than having me dictate what sort of application or positions that they would like to apply. So once they are done with the advertisement, I gave them a link for a resume builder. So they would be building resumes and send it to me. So the reason why I engage them in this activity of resume building is because I would like to expose the students to the language for email writing. For example, if we have a look at this particular resume here, we can see that students can use words or phrases like good management skills, communication skills when they write their formal email. So students would be sending me the resume based on the template that they feel that they like. So some of them have even inserted their photos in their resume, and I do feel like students liked doing this particular activity. All right, so moving on. So once they are done with the resume, what I would do is I would engage the students in a pre-writing activity on Google Jamboard. So I'm going to go to the Google Jamboard itself right now. So what I did here for the Google Jamboard for this particular email writing activity is I provided a screenshot taken from the Form 4 Full Blast textbook, and then the students can use the text feature to write down their answers. So this can be done live during Google Meet, or it can also be done after the lesson is over. So this can be considered as classroom-based assessment if students have been able to provide their answers and send it back to the teacher to assess. Other than this particular activity, in which they have to change the informal words or phrases into more formal words or phrases, I've also got another one which is at sentence level. So this particular activity allows them to use the sticker feature on Google Jamboard. So what they would do is they would change words or phrases which are informal, like words like ad, for example. We can change it to advertise or advertisement. And then they could also change the active voice to the passive voice in the sentence so that they can avoid using or referring to the employer as you, for example. So we would be eliciting answers on Google Jamboard, and then students would give me evidence of their work. So I would like to show how students provide me with evidence of their work. What I did is I built a Google Drive for the students, like this one here right now. If I open the folder for my Form 4 classes, for example, we can see that each individual student has his or her own folder. So if we open the folder right now, we can see that the student has organized the folders according to the skills for classroom-based assessment, like listening, reading, writing, as well as speaking. I've also had them organize it according to the platforms that I use, such as Canva, Padlet, as well as Quizzes or Quizlet. So since we're talking about writing right now, I'm going to open the student's writing folder. So as you can see, the student has sent quite a number of writing in the form of Google document, as well as the pre-writing activity just now happens in the form of a screenshot. I've also got the screenshot for the Google Jamboard activity using the sticker feature just now. So students can provide me with evidence of their work for classroom-based assessment, and I do not have a problem in finding their evidence anymore. Okay, going back to the Padlet just now for the application of a job vacancy. Once they're done with the pre-writing activity, we engage the students in the actual classroom-based assessment activity, which is the writing of an email. So students can choose whether they want to send the email to me in the form of PDF, like this one here. Or if they wanted to send to me their emails through this platform, which is the Delima platform, they can also do so. So if you can see right now, this would be the instructions that I gave on Delima. And if I click on student work, we can see the students turning in their work. And I would also be notified if the students send their classroom-based assessment task a bit later than the others. So those would be the options that my students have when they send their work. The good thing about using Padlet when we do classroom-based assessment is that I can insert the grade underneath the students' emails. So in order for teachers to do that, all you have to do is you go to the modify button. And then we can see here for the modify button, we can insert reactions when students engage in the activity. So there would be reactions like, vote, and star, which would be suitable for virtual gallery walks. But I guess for classroom-based assessment, it is highly encouraged that teachers insert the grade or the numeric scores for students. So a maximum grade can be put here. This one, I gave it 20 because I was referring to the scale for CEFR. But if you want to use the scale for PBD or classroom-based assessment, we simply put the maximum grade as 6 down there. Okay. So that would be how we can insert the grading for classroom-based assessment. Okay, so once students have written all their emails and send it to me through the options available just now, I would be uploading my YouTube videos. So if I could just show you right now. Okay, so the YouTube videos produced would allow me to record all the feedback that I give to students. What I mean by timely feedback just now is that when the teacher gives feedback, it should be at a time when the learner is able to act on it. They could monitor and they could adjust, make amendments to their writing, for example, rather than put it aside and just forget about it. So by having it recorded here, we can have the students a bit more alert to the feedback given. So I would usually be giving a few series of YouTube videos, which is why I like to use YouTube. I can have it in a playlist, and students can actually opt to choose the lower resolution if they wanted to save their data. Okay, so this one would be the first one in which I engage the students for pre-writing activity. This one would be for the practice of formal and informal writing. Usually what students would do when they watch the recording, they would screenshot the particular slide that they think is important, and they would put that screenshot in their writing folder. And the last one here is for us to discuss the marking of an email for SPM. But I also do show them the descriptors for classroom-based assessment so that they are aware of the criteria that they should reach or they should tick in order for them to reach a certain performance level or standard. So far, there have been quite a few YouTube videos produced already for home-based learning. The most recent one would be on YouTube channel for Didik TV, in which I conducted classroom-based assessment for listening for Form 1. So teachers can check that one out. each time that I give the feedback for the teacher's feedback for the students, the crawler would be displaying classroom-based assessment occurring. So teachers can actually check, how classroom-based assessment can be done. So other YouTube videos include tutorials on the use of classroom screen as well as Canva. I've also got one for the use of Padlet. This one is highly recommended. I think so far it has had like around 4,498 views, which is relatively higher than other YouTube videos. So I believe that teachers can check this out because it was done in a very detailed and comprehensive manner for teachers to understand. Right now, I think I would like to move to the performance standards guide for writing. This is for Form 4. So if we look at the performance level for level 1 and 2, we can see that the criteria remain the same, but the keywords change slightly in the sense that for performance level 1, pupils should be able to display minimal ability to communicate information. But when they reach performance level 2, they should show some ability to communicate information. Both levels would require a lot of support from the teacher. But when students reach performance level 3, they should be able to communicate information and ideas very clearly and very coherently in written form. So it should look like a very unified whole piece of writing. Other criteria include being able to produce a draft and then modifying it, whether independently or through the feedback that teachers give, as well as being able to use registers appropriately. They should be able to punctuate and spell with reasonable accuracy. I think what that means is that when students use more common words in their writing, they should be able to spell more accurately. But when they use words which are low frequency or more bombastic words, they might have some difficulties there. This would be performance level 4, 5, and 6. As you can see right now, the criteria remain the same except for a few slight changes in the keywords. So for performance level 4 for writing, students should be able to give very few relevant details. But when they reach performance level 5, they should give some more relevant details. And ultimately, when they have reached performance level 6, the details should be in a variety. Okay, they should be able to provide a lot more relevant details compared to students who are in performance level 4 and 5. Other criteria remain the same, like being able to produce the draft and then modifying it, as well as using the correct register, like what they have brainstormed with me just now on Google Jamboard. And then they should be able to punctuate and spell with reasonable accuracy. Right now, I am sharing the performance level 2 example from my student. This would be a script of the writing of an email for a job application. I put this particular student at performance level 2 due to the fact that I think because of some of the issues that he has faced when writing this email, such as his inability to use the correct article, probably he has some issues with preposition. He has got omissions here. He has also given me a French spelling instead of a British spelling for pharmaceutics here. So somehow all those issues have affected his ability to communicate the ideas in written form in a more clear and coherent manner. Because if he was to reach performance level 3, he should be able to do so in a very clear and coherent manner. Okay. I think other than that, he has used the correct register, but probably he can modify it first before he can reach performance level 3. Okay, this particular piece of writing, it is also an email for a job application. I put this particular candidate at performance level 5 due to the fact that this candidate has been able to communicate her idea by giving us some relevant details. She's applying for the position of a pilot, and she gave us some details on why she thinks she is suitable for the position. Okay, other than that, I think she has been able to use the correct register, punctuation is good, as well as she has got accurate spelling. The only issue here is probably with regards to word choice or diction, in which I have made some amendments on Google document. The green lettering here shows that I've done a bit of editing. So probably instead of saying I am intense about flying a plane, she can say I am passionate about flying a plane. Other than that, she is definitely good to go. Okay, this would be an example of an email for performance level 6. So here we can see for performance level 6, the difference with performance level 5 just now is that this candidate has given us a variety of relevant details. For example, he has told us in writing form the fact that he has obtained his degree from University of Nottingham. He's given us the reason why he thinks he has good leadership skills. He was privileged to be given the position of president last time in his student representative council. He's given us reasons why he thinks he's trustworthy. So it was done in a very detailed manner. So that is the reason why we have put this particular candidate at performance level 6. Moving on right now, I would like to share my example of a speaking assessment based on the Form 4 scheme of work that I have conducted with the students. This particular speaking assessment was based on the content standard and the learning standard that they had to display, in which I would like them to communicate information, ideas, and opinions on familiar topics, as well as be able to explain and justify their point of view. So the topic that I've selected for this one is my dream profession. I've used Padlet to display the students' Canva posters. I use Canva as well so that they can record themselves on Canva. So we did involve this lesson did involve a bit of me producing some YouTube tutorial videos to help them out with Canva. And then again, I had it recorded on Google Meet and uploaded on YouTube for synchronous and asynchronous mode of teaching and learning. And I also use Classroom Screen. If I could just show that right now. So this would be me using Classroom Screen when I conduct the speaking lesson. So I would alternate between showing this particular slide here on Classroom Screen, as well as showing the students' actual Canva posters that they have produced here. So it is good for virtual gallery walk. The students can look at each other's posters. They can look at the quotations that their friends have inserted in their Canva poster. And then when they are speaking, I can have this particular poster projected. Okay, going back to the Classroom Screen, among the benefits of using Classroom Screen would be that there are features like selecting students' random names, as well as using the stopwatch for me to ensure that none of the students exceed the time limit, because they have to speak within a time frame of 3 to 4 minutes for each particular person. So I get to use these features on Classroom Screen. I did have a YouTube tutorial done just for the purpose of showing how to use Classroom Screen. So do check that one out on the JEDLR platform. Okay, this one would be another speaking assessment based on the Form 4 scheme of work, in which this one here, I would like students to communicate their feelings, emotions, their opinions, as well as respond to feelings such as anger or amusement. In the Form 4 Full Blast textbook, students have to show how they respond to frustration when they are having their vacation. So I choose the topic of my dream vacation. So for this one, I use the audio recording on Padlet so that students can give me their audio recording as well as their transcript. So I'll show that right now. So on Padlet here, what I have inserted would be the students. First and foremost, I demonstrate by using the audio recording. I did show them on Google Meet as well. Okay, I did use some idioms in my speech as well as some vocabulary found in the Form 4 textbook. I inserted some pictures of places that students can select for their dream vacation, and they have to answer this particular speaking question. They have to talk about their dream vacation and make sure that they hit all the bullet points there. So what the students will do is they will send to me their recording on Padlet itself. Underneath the recording, we can find the audio transcript that they have given to me in the form of Google document. Okay, so right now, maybe we can have a look at the descriptors for speaking. Okay, if we look at the descriptors for speaking, it is quite similar to what we saw in the writing assessment just now. For performance level 1 and 2, we can see that the changes occur in the keywords there. For performance level 1, pupils can display minimal ability to communicate information, but for performance level 2, they should show some ability to communicate information. When they reach performance level 3, they should be able to communicate the information much more clearly. And then they should be able to use appropriate register, as well as if I engage them in summarizing a particular plot or story, they should be able to sufficiently summarize it for me. When students reach performance level 4, they should be able to provide us some relevant details, as well as sustain the communication occasionally. Okay, but when they reach performance level 5 and 6, they should be able to provide a lot of relevant details in their speech. And for performance level 5, most of the time when the teacher engages them in a conversation or communication, they should be able to participate most of the time. Okay, but ultimately, when students reach performance level 5, they should have a lot of ease with the language. They should be able to communicate very naturally, providing all the required relevant details. And at all times, they should be able to spontaneously respond to the teacher or to their friends. Last but not least, their language should be exemplary model of language. Okay, I would like to demonstrate that right now. So this would be an example of my students' audio transcript on the topic that I've shown just now, which was my dream vacation. I put this student at performance level 3 because I think that this student is able to communicate her feelings, her plans very clearly, although she does have some minor errors in her speech. But other than that, I think that she's able to justify her point of view and use the appropriate register. So I put her at performance level 3. Okay, this particular candidate here is put at performance level 5 due to the fact that she's able to provide us a lot of relevant details about why she wants to visit Dubai. Other than that, she has also been able to use the correct register for speaking, for speech casually. So if we can have a look at the circled words or phrases here, we can see to use words or phrase writing like or phrases like it gives me the vibes of living a nomadic life, rather than saying it gives me a good feeling. So the words or phrases that she's used shows to us that she's using the correct register to communicate. Of relevant details, that's one thing. And then she's also able to, when I did the speaking assessment with her, she's able to just speak from the top of her head without any prior planning, and she's able to use exemplary model of language. She has a lot of ease with the language. So if we can see, we can have a look at the circled words or phrases right now. She has been able to use words like or phrases like alternates from time to time, rather than saying sometimes I go to school by van, sometimes I go with my parents. So instead of that, she says it alternates from time to time. She's also been able to use words like exquisite, monastic, scenic. Instead of saying I would like to watch a breathtaking library, for example, she says I would like to witness such a breathtaking library. She's got phrases like hidden jewels, which would later become some sort of an exemplary model of language for the rest of the students once I share her recording with the others. Okay, in order to make professional judgment, I do believe that teachers should not somehow just collect all the accumulated level or standard performance standards, and add it up and then divide it by the number of times that we conduct the classroom-based assessment. Instead of doing that, what we should do is we should look at the frequency in which the student receives a certain performance level. So for example, Adli Amran here receives more of 4, performance level 4, for his classroom-based assessment. So we would then give him an overall performance level of 4 for term 1. All right. So once we are done with that, we can then transfer the marks on the main classroom-based assessment form. I think this form here is quite familiar for all teachers. I do advise teachers to also write the remarks, in which we can somehow write down why we think we gave them that performance level and what can be done for them to progress in terms of their mastery of the language. So I hope that this sharing has been beneficial, and I'll see everyone at the question and answer session next time. So thank you for listening.
One question, a teacher, Cikgu Rohana, I believe, who is very much interested to know more about your classroom screen, sorry. All right, so probably we'll go into that. You can spend a little bit of time to probably highlight a few things to her. But anyway, thank you very much, Cikgu Emira. Very great, another great sharing. I'm very sorry, dear viewers. Negeri Johor, right now, we have been experiencing unpredictable weather, very bad weather in Pontian yesterday, and the very strong wind even hit certain parts of Kota Tinggi and Pasir Gudang. So I'm very sorry. Okay, there's nothing we can do about that when it comes to weather. But anyway, we hope that the show will go on and we could go on sharing excellent things with you today pertaining to PBD. So thank you very much again, Cikgu Emira. She has shared a variety of ways, especially on recording or storing your students' responses through Padlet, and also the scoring criteria for the writing and speaking assessment. And most of all, I think, such a lovely sharing on how to conduct professional judgment. Thank you very much, Cikgu Emira. She'll be joining us a little bit later. All right, now we will now invite Cikgu Atiqa, who will be with us now. Right, okay. Hi, Atiqa. So Cikgu Atiqa, I'm sure, has more wonderful things to share with us pertaining to PBD. Okay, the stage is yours, Atiqa.
All right. Thank you, madam. Assalamualaikum and good day, everyone. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Puan Rokiah binti Ahmad, our moderator for today, who's also a Ketua Penolong Pengarah Bahasa, Sektor Pembelajaran, JPN. Ms. Emira, my co-panelist just now. I've quite a burden to carry on with such a great presentation that you have preceded us just now. And also the audience who chose to spend your today evening with us today. Thank you for being here. Right. As for my part, I will be sharing how to use Google Form for PBD in terms of reading and listening skill. Okay, so why do we use Google Form for PBD? Okay, I think this is comes off as self-explanatory that Google Form is a method that is quite easy to use, meaning to say that ever since the pandemic happened, Google Form has been the method that has been chosen by quite a number of organizations to collect data. And in doing so, I think that we as a teacher has quite such a power to use Google Form for our students' PBD, all right? So for Google Form, the interface is very easy to use, meaning to say that since that we are very familiar with it, anybody with an average skill in internet skill will be able to use Google Form. Okay, so there are a few things that you need to consider when you're using Google Form when it comes to assessing reading and listening skills. First things that this Google Form can offer the option of multiple choice or drop down for one answered question. Google Form also managed to allow you to have questions with multiple answers by using checkboxes. And you can also use multiple choice grid for true or false question or matching questions. And sometimes if you need to have a structured questions or even a little bit of a subjective question that accompanies with your reading and listening skill, that could fall under short answer interface. Besides such an easy interface to use, Google Form also stores feedback so that you can see the analysis of your pupils' work. You can see individual responses for each pupil, and you can access an Excel spreadsheet with all the pupils' answers. So I'm just going to go straight through suggested activities using Google Form for PBD. Okay, so this is the text that I use with my Form 2 students for a non-textbook lesson. Okay, so this text is called hashtag Goldilocks, a hashtag cautionary tale. Basically, this is a story, a fairy tale, a well-known fairy tale of Goldilocks, whereby this little girl went into the forest and go into the three bears' house and then start doing her misbehaving ways there. But for this particular text, Goldilocks did that with the skill of what we call insensitive skill of social media use. Okay, she went into the forest, get into those bears' house, and then she decided to film all the things, all the bad things that she did there. So she took a picture of this piping hot porridge, and then she took a film of her breaking the chair. So after that, she uploaded on her Instagram, and then in order to get more likes from her viewers. Okay, so I think this text is quite interesting for you to be used with your students because it's quite current and this is something that is close to them. Okay, so Goldilocks is something that's very familiar and we add a little bit of a modern twist in it. Okay, so what I did with this text is that I choose two learning standards that we have here. The first one is main points. Okay, so understand the main points in simple longer text on a range of familiar topics. Okay, that sample of question can be found here. So the first question asked the students in the Google form, did Goldilocks get a lot of like initially? So this is the extract that the students could find the answer because this is a main point. So basically in this extract, the author gave the details first and then move on to the main point of the extract. Okay, as you can see there, the text there, at first, she posted boring things, a selfie to her fairy wings, and looked for likes that didn't come. Okay, so as you can see there, the main point is right at the end of the extract. So that shows for the sample of main point there. So for the question one, did Goldilocks get a lot of like initially? So with the phrase like, and look for likes that didn't come. So the answer would be a no there. Okay. As for the second learning standard, okay, we have understand specific details and information in simple longer text on a range of familiar topics. Okay, for this particular question, we can look at question 3 here. We are getting into more detail now. How did Goldilocks try to gain more attention and likes? Okay, from the text, as you can see there, it's mentioned there, and with a cheeky little grin, she took a selfie breaking in. Okay, so with the choices of answers that we have there, the answer would be a selfie breaking in an empty cottage in the woods. Okay, so once we are done with the PBD for reading, okay, I'm sure that most teachers are very familiar with this. Okay, we have 6 performance levels. Okay, the first one is performance level 1. Okay, when your student is at the performance level 1, it means that he or she hardly understands in identifying main ideas and specific details. We also have performance level 2. It shows that the pupils have a very limited understanding in identifying the main ideas and specific details in a text with a lot of support. As for band 3, it shows that pupils have adequate understanding of the reading skills in identifying the main ideas and specific details in the text. Okay, as you can see there from the sample of scores that we have, right? If I could just direct you to the scores that we have here. Okay, we can find a few students who are already at the band 3 based on the number of correct responses shared here. Okay. So band 4, pupils have good understanding of the reading skills and identifying the main ideas and specific details in the text. Okay, as you can see there, it moves, as you can see there are quite a few students that are already in band 4 based on the scores given at the right hand side of the presentation. Okay, and then now we are moving on to how to achieve of a higher band. Okay, so of course, the prerequisite when we want to achieve higher bands, when we want our students to achieve a higher band for reading and listening skills, is that they manage to answer all the questions correctly, or even at least 70 to 80% questions correctly. Okay, so, but then what makes performance level 5 unique is that it has what we call a personal response. Okay, shows a lot of interest to read and give personal response to fiction or non-fiction text with some guidance. Okay, so for reading skill, in order for you to award your pupils with a band 5, you need to have a little bit of a personal response getting from your student in order to get them of a higher level. Okay, as you can see, there are a few students that managed to get quite good marks for band 5. And also for band 6, if your pupils are at band 6, your pupils can acquire and use the reading skill, okay, as well as give personal response independently. Okay, as you can see, there are a few students that managed to get almost all correct for all the answers, as you can see there, 14 over 15. Okay, so the difference between performance level 5 and 6 when it comes to personal response is that for band 5, it is important to know that this personal response can be given to you by your students with some guidance, meaning to say you can prompt them, you can give them a supporting task before you actually give the real task to them, and other things that you can think of as a teacher in terms of giving guidance to your students. Okay. However, for band 6, when saying that giving personal response, it means that you are letting your students, or even your students, are able to give personal response independently, meaning that she or he need no or at least minimal support from you, minimal guidance from you. That's how a pupil can land a band 6 for reading skill. Okay. Right, so I have a few. I have a few examples of personal response prompts that you could help with your students. I think one of my favorites, there are 20 here. I'm just going to highlight a few. Okay, one of my favorite would be what I learned from this reading was. Okay, so this is such a universal question. Okay, you can ask your student in this question for any types of text that you have. It could be fiction or it could be non-fiction, but still this question could be very relevant. Okay, meaning that what do they learn, or perhaps moral values that they could learn from the text that they have read. Okay. Also, I think that it's quite interesting that I did with my pupils is that we have the most interesting character was. Okay, so for this type of question, pupils need to justify. Compared to question 10 just now, what I learned from this reading was, this one is what I would call, although you have to imply from the text, it's something that you just mention and something that you have learned, and the question is what. So they just state what is it that they have learned from the reading. But for question 19, students are expected to justify their answers, and hence this shows of higher level thinking there and then. Okay. All right, so now moving on to suggested activities using Google Form for PBD. Okay, this one is for listening. Okay, so this is what I did with my Form 2 students. We did this every year, I think, during World Chocolate Day. It's on July 7th, by the way. So because they are Form 2, I think they still didn't have that inhibitions when it comes to participating in classroom. And I think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is quite a good text to explore with your pupils because they have such quite good moral values in there. Okay, so what I did in this lesson is that I showed them a few clips of YouTube of the rooms in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. So the rooms here is where all the fates of these characters happen. Okay, so the chocolate room is where Augustus Gloop was punished for his glutton, and same goes to other characters. Okay, so for this particular text, again, I'll be testing these two learning standards. Okay, understand independently the main ideas in simple longer text on a range of familiar topics. Okay, and 1.1.2, understand independently specific information and details. Okay, let's look at main ideas first. Okay, how do I test main ideas for this type of text? Okay, so what I did was I asked students to fulfill a task of matching situations with specific characters. Okay, so they have all these characters, they have all these situations based on the characters on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then they have to match of the situation, the detail of the situation, to the characters that's available in the story. So, for example, the situation here is she caused a lot of problems with her demanding nature, was seen as as a bad nut to the squirrels and was thrown into the garbage chute. Okay, so that is the fate of a Veruca salt. Okay, as for understand independently specific information, okay, we have a screenshot here, a screenshot of a worksheet whereby pupils need to fill in the blanks based on specific words that they hear from the text. Okay, as you can see there, here, for the listening test that we did here, we did a little bit of combination between Google Form and Live Worksheet. Reason being because Live Worksheet is way more dynamics compared to Google Form, but Google Form will give you the organization, the structured organization that you need later when you need to assess your pupils for their performance level. Okay, so what you can do is that in that Google Form, you can put all the clips on the Google Form, perhaps YouTube clips in the URL, and then have it shared. And after that, you could put the URL for live worksheet and have your student answer the live worksheet. And then later they can screenshot and send their results on the file upload option for Google Form. So later when you receive all these responses, you can get, instead of everything just all over the place, everything is just in one place and it's easier for you to access and later to award them the performance level that they are deserved of. Okay, as for listening skills, the performance standards, again, we have 6 performance level here, 1 until 6. Okay, for performance level 1, pupils hardly understands the main ideas and specific details. Performance level number 2 acquires limited understanding of the listening skills and identifying main ideas and specific details. Performance level 3, adequate understanding, meaning that pupils have adequate understanding of the listening skills. As you can see there from the sample of the scores based on this Willy Wonka's room in the chocolate factory. Okay, there are 13, there are students who managed to get 13 over 28 and that lands them in performance level 3. Okay, performance level 4, pupil shows good understanding, acquires good understanding of the listening skills in identifying the main ideas and specific details in the text. Okay, so as you can see there are a few students that fell, one student that fell under that band 4. As for performance level 5, pupils acquire very good understanding of the listening skills in identifying main ideas and specific details in the text. Okay, right. So for Band 6, pupils acquire and use the listening skills in identifying the main ideas and specific details excellently, and it displays exemplary model and language use to others. Okay, I think I would just like to bring your attention to how to achieve performance level 6, okay, for language, for listening skills. Okay. So as you can see that there is one student managed to get all correct. Again, the prerequisite to get a band 6 is that first the pupils need to be able to answer all the listening comprehension questions correctly. And in this case, there's one student managed to get 28 over 28. Okay. So the reason why he is not just because he managed to get a full mark, the reason why this particular student is given a band 6 because we have a personal response question here. Okay, so this is a very short personal response. They do not have to answer very long. It's just one sentence for them to answer the question. Yet it could help them. It could help us to see whether these particular pupils have maturity or not when it comes to giving justification or reasonings. Okay, so the question was, from the story you read before, who do you think the winner was and why? Okay, because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is quite a famous movie, so I think most of the pupils would already have the knowledge of who's the winner of this competition that Willy Wonka has. Okay, so my student answered, I think the winner was Charlie Bucket because he never asked for more than what he was given. Okay, so I think this is such a beautiful sentence, and it's beautifully written and also accurate in a matter of when it comes to who the winner is. Okay, so for this particular student, I award him a 6 because let's look at the structure that he's used here. Okay, he never asked for more than what he was given. Okay, this is actually a passive sentence. A passive sentence actually belongs to C1 level grammar. Okay, so for Form 2 students, they are only expected to reach a high A2 or perhaps a really low B1. And for this particular student, to manage to surpass the level that he is supposed to be at is amazing, and hence being awarded as Band 6 for his listening skill. Okay. Another student with a full mark here, 28 over 28, okay, answered the question just like this. It's quite short. Charlie, who do you think the winner was and why? Charlie, because the other children have been wiped out. Okay, considering there's one slip of language here, providing that you need to have a D there. But this particular student managed to use the phrasal verb of wipe out correctly. Okay, although there's a slip of language there. So meaning to say that not just correctly, to answering the comprehension questions. Okay, so when you have all this data, these are the two ways that you could do when you are trying to interpret the data for you to use in terms of future lesson planning or also planning for intervention strategy. Okay, the first indicator is that the low marks that your students get, I mean in overall marks that they get during after the post PPD. Okay, so the low marks tell us that it is useful in recognizing emerging patterns of language areas. Okay, so we normally would choose the specific learning standards that you want to test our students on. Okay, so with the low marks that we receive in that particular learning standards, it shows that that particular learning standards need help. Okay, your students need help with that learning standards. Okay, another indicator is that a frequently missed questions. Okay, this is useful in identifying specific language item that requires intensive care. Okay, right. So what we learn from here is that there is a specific question that is problematic to the students. So from here you can see that there's a specific language that you can tackle. You can perhaps do an intervention plan with it in order to rectify the weakness that your students have when it comes to this specific language item. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you the intervention plan that I did with my Form 5 students. Okay, we did a PBD on reading text, A House of Mystery. This is taken from Form 5 English Download Textbook, Unit 2, page 18 to 19. Okay. So what what I found out from that reading assessment is that there's this one particular question that caused so many of my students did not get it right. Okay, so the question was, what are we told about the blue room? Okay, so only 57.7% managed to answer this correctly, meaning 42.3% of pupils answered this particular question wrongly. Okay, so this shows that these pupils are struggling with the skill of inferring from detailed descriptions. Okay, so this is worrying because in Form 5, the pupils are expected to be able to recognize attitude or opinion of the writer most of the time for Band 4, recognize attitude or opinion of the writer at all times for Band 5, and recognize attitude or opinion of the writer effectively for Band 6. Okay, so moving forward from the data that we have just now, okay, I used frequently missed question just now. Okay, I did a show don't tell lesson. Okay, so step 1, teacher introduces to pupils what show and tell sentences are. Okay, so showing is about using description and action to help the reader experience the story. And telling is when the author summarizes or uses exposition to simply tell the reader what is happening. Okay, so this is the lesson that I did with my pupils using a live stream. So I have all these examples that I want to interact with my pupils so that they can guess what tell sentence, or perhaps what is it the feeling that this author have when he wrote this particular sentence. Okay, so as you can see there, the sentence, my students answered nervous for this particular show sentence. Okay, when I explain to them, I would basically emphasize on the details that's been shared. Okay, for instance, try as he might, he could do nothing but think about the questions that he might be asked, the answers he would need to give, the way he would have to walk, talk, and sit, the times he would need to speak or listen and not, the things he would have to say or not say. Okay, so we need to say that this particular author is very conscious of himself. Okay, let's go deeper. Okay, his throat went dry, his palms moistened, unable to reach for his handkerchief in the packed downtown subway. Okay, so it's clear that when we have phrases like his throat went dry, his palms moistened, meaning that this author is actually feeling very nervous. Okay. So for step 2, okay, after I did a teaching session of what show and tell sentences are, in groups of 4, pupils rewrite 5 tell sentences into 5 show sentences. Okay. So after they have rewritten all the tell sentences into show sentences, each representative from each group will share their show sentences, and pupils from other groups will try to guess what the tell sentences are. Okay, as you can see there, this is one of the examples of the groups that shared their show sentence. Okay, so they have written this show sentence about a messy car. So again, their friends managed to guess the tell sentence of this show sentence. Okay. And step 4, individually, pupils write show sentences about a mystery cabin in the woods. Okay, let me remind you that this intervention plan is actually for Unit 2. Okay, Life's a Great Mystery, meaning it has the theme of supernatural, it has the theme of mysteries or investigation. Okay, so to sort of tie everything up, as the last step, pupils would write a show sentence about a mystery cabin in the woods. Okay, so this is one of the samples that I managed to get from one of my students. Okay, rain began to pour heavily. I had no choice but to find shelter. I could hear thunder roaring in the sky. To my luck, I spotted a cabin down by the river, and etc. Okay, so that's how I ended my intervention strategy. So as a result of this intervention strategy, it can be clearly seen that there has been a significant improvement in terms of pupils' ability to infer the author's attitude or opinion. Okay, so the initial data was only, roughly 58% of pupils from this particular class managed to answer this type of question correctly in Unit 2, Okay, so this is why we did the intervention strategy in the first place, the show and tell intervention strategy in the first place, because the low percentage of students who manage to answer inferring type of question. Okay, so post-intervention data shows, okay, there has been a gradual increase. Okay, let's see. 65.2% pupils managed to answer this inferring type of questions correctly in Unit 5. And in Unit 7, the increase goes up to 85.3%. And the best that we have yet so far is in Unit 9, whereby 94.6 pupils managed to answer inferring questions for reading comprehensions correctly. So the intervention and also the data from Google Classroom does work in helping your pupils to get where they should be in terms of their performance level for the future assessment. Right. I hope that with the sharing that I have just now, it will benefit something from. It will benefit something for your teaching repertoire. With that, I think I should pass this stage back to Puan Rokiah.
Thank you very much, Cikgu Atiqa. Okay, that was superb. I personally really like your sharing on the personal response prompts. Some are very simple, some are more in depth in enticing students' opinion. Thank you very much. And also, you have shared plethora of usage of the Google Forms, not only to keep the score, analyze the score of your students' assessment, conducting the assessment, even up to the intervention. Okay, thank you very much, Cikgu Atiqa. I believe we have questions for both of you. The first one is for Cikgu Emira. Can we have the questions? Yeah. All right. So this is from Puan Rokiah alias, classroom screen sounds interesting. Please explain more, Cikgu Emira. Okay, Cikgu Emira?
All right. I use Classroom Screen as a digital platform or a virtual whiteboard. It's very straightforward. We can use the features on Classroom Screen like the stopwatch or the timer. We can use the name randomizer, like what has been mentioned in the comment section of this YouTube channel already. Then students can take turns without us nominating them. So that it would be fair when we conduct the speaking session with them. I even use a classroom screen during face-to-face sessions with my SPM 2020 candidates, especially due to the fact that when students have to engage in social distancing, their desks would be at the back, so we can use the text feature on classroom screen and enlarge our writing on the classroom screen. Definitely very helpful. I've also combined the use of classroom screen with virtual board game, in which there is also a dice feature that we can use. When they engage in the activity for the speaking task, we would roll the dice on classroom screen first, and then we move it on the virtual board game, and they get a topic to talk about during that particular activity. So definitely check out the use of classroom screen, because I've got a YouTube tutorial that has also been shared in the comment section of this YouTube channel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cikgu Emira. And Puan Rokiah, I hope you have inspired to try out the classroom screen. And Cikgu Emira, all your YouTube channel can be accessed through the JEDLR platform, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so dear viewers, all Cikgu Emira's YouTube channel can be accessed through our JEDLR platform for you to increase your skills, especially in some of the apps or some of the games or whatever that has been shared, okay, today. Next, we have another question, I believe, from, a good friend of ours, Dr. Nabila from Johor Bahru, Datuk Jaafar, SMK Datuk Jaafar. Very creative and interesting. How can we encourage more student collaboration in these activities? Okay, I think this is referring to Cikgu Atiqa, one of your activities, I believe. I think this one is pertaining to the intervention, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I think that when it comes to student collaboration, it is important to make it a group task. And with all the strategies that we have been presented in the past few years, I think we can choose any of those strategies to help your students to collaborate better. Besides group tasks, we can also, I mean, we are talking this in the sense of online assessment. Okay. I think that what makes collaboration works is that they have, all of them have the ability or even chance to present their information or present their research to the class, and we can do that either using Google Meets, or even to be more what we call proactive, we can use a live stream like this, and they would have the experience of presenting their research and take pride in their work, hence increasing more collaboration in terms of students collaboration.
Yeah, and not to forget, collaboration is one of the key elements in preparing our children to become a global player in the 21st century. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? Our host, Cikgu Hanif and Cikgu Joel. Okay, I think that's about all. Please do go on our platform to look at particularly the CPD or the videos that we have, all right, to increase or to make your teaching and learning more fun for the children, and also to help you to learn more. Okay, so thank you very much, Cikgu Atiqa and Cikgu Emira, for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. Again, we would like to apologize on the technical glitches. We had a fair share. I had mine, and Cikgu Emira had the slight one, and then Cikgu Atiqa, due to the weather that we are experiencing in Johor currently. Okay, but nevertheless, objective achieved. We managed to finish our webinar successfully, Alhamdulillah. So we hope to see you again in our next webinar. And dear teachers, I know we are now allowed to go back and visit our loved ones in our hometown, but do stay safe, have fun, but stay safe, and I hope you could find your way back to your workstation before your PDPR starts tomorrow. Okay, on that note, I wish you all the best. Enjoy whatever moment that you have now with your loved ones in your road trip balik kampung, but remember to balik semula to your workstation, and all the best and stay safe. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.